First up on the show, ratcheting up America's position on China, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, backed President Donald Trump's assertion that the coronavirus had originated in a research lab in Wuhan. The Chinese state broadcaster CCTV hit back fiercely, calling Pompeo quote-unquote insane. Mike Pompeo's quote-unquote insane and evasive remarks became a hot topic on the state broadcaster CCTV on Monday. Pompeo, a day earlier, had said that there was enormous evidence that the virus had originated in a lab in China. Various scientific experts and the World Health Organization have as yet denied this claim. Now, the harshly worded commentary cited WHO Executive Director Mike Ryan and Columbia University virologist Wuhan Lipkin, who claimed that the virus was natural in origin. The commentary goes on to say, these flawed and unreasonable remarks by American politicians make it clear that there is no evidence that exists. The program further says that the so-called virus leak hype is a complete and utter lie. American politicians are rushing to shift the blame, cheat voters and suppress China when their own domestic anti-epidemic efforts are a mess. And it wasn't just the state broadcaster that took on the aggressive tone. Further, two opinion pieces published on Monday by the state newspaper People's Daily attacked Pompeo and the former White House strategist Steve Bannon. In the past week, the Chinese media has repeatedly slammed Pompeo as the common enemy of mankind. Pompeo has been personally accused of spreading a political virus over his repeated claims that the pandemic originated in a lab. What escalated this war of words was arguably when the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson pushed the conspiracy theory that the U.S. military had brought the virus to China, in fact. And while Nick Harper is now joining us live from Washington for the latest on this. And Nick, it certainly looks that the U.S. is now aggressively pushing the charge that all of this is China's responsibility and it started in a lab. What's the thinking in Washington?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this rhetoric ramping up over the last few weeks, but it's really over the last couple of days that we've seen at the highest level of the US government these accusations being levelled at China, saying that this was a man-made virus made in a lab in Wuhan, that somehow it came out of that lab and has since infected the entire world. We've had the US Secretary of State saying that he has enormous evidence that this was the case. He hasn't so far presented any evidence or given any other details apart from saying that he has it. And we've also seen the US President, Donald Trump, saying that he has a high degree of confidence that this was a man-made virus, that it came from a laboratory inside China and that China didn't tell the world that that had happened and therefore the world was not able to react. We've had health officials, as you mentioned just a moment ago, including some of the top scientific experts pushing back against this, saying that this is not the case, that it was a natural virus, not something that was man-made or created in a laboratory. And of course, we've had China pushing back as well. But from a US perspective, there is very much this political dimension. Donald Trump knows that in just less than 6 months' time, he will be facing re-election in the United States. And we're beginning to see this pushing of an idea that this virus is all down to China, that they are the people to blame, not his own government, who has been slow to respond, but an outside entity, that there was a man-made virus created in another country, and he's very much trying to point the finger of blame, knowing that if he can shift the focus, if he can deflect the attention away from himself, away from his own administration and his handling of this whole crisis, there might be a possibility to win over some votes. And therefore we're seeing this anti-China narrative very much being ratcheted up within the US government.
Right. And also, of course, Nick, this at variance with what the intelligence agencies are saying in America. The CIA is saying that, yes, there was a delay in giving out information by China about the virus, but this was done to keep medical supplies for itself, not something that was man-made.
That's right, yes, this new report suggesting that there has been very much a period where China realised that there was this virus, that it was out into the wider world, and therefore they were holding back medical supplies. They were increasing imports into the country of supplies, and they were also decreasing exports, leaving their own shores to make sure that they had the supplies, and not telling the world at the time. That's some of the latest details coming from within the intelligence community. But the intelligence community has also, within the last week, pushed back against Donald Trump. On the very day that Donald Trump said he had a high confidence that it was a man-made virus, they were saying that it was not the case, that they were still looking into it, that they were still investigating it, but they did agree with the World Health Organization that it was a natural and not a man-made virus.
Right, Nick Harper, thanks very much for joining us there from Washington, D.C., and what exactly is happening in this back and forth between the U.S. and China. Thanks for that.